Welcome to Enjoy Classical Destroys Beethoven's Pastoral. Well, not quite. The Pastoral Symphony was one of the very first reasons I fell in love with classical music. It's a piece I adore and I've made videos about, so this is not an attack on the symphony's rightly celebrated music. However, there are a surprising amount of fake news circulated about this music that I've discovered over the years and which I'll share with you today. Musical firsts which are not quite as first as they first seem. Starting, firstly, with that famous first walk in the countryside. As you probably know, Beethoven's Pastoral Symphony is a 5-movement visit to the countryside, replete with storm and dancing peasants. However, did you know that a composer called Justin Heinrich Knecht also wrote a Pastoral Symphony a full 24 years before Beethoven? He actually titled the symphony A Musical Portrait of Nature. But hang on, because the similarities don't end there. People will note Beethoven's innovative use of 5 movements for the Pastoral, but there's also 5 movements in the Knecht piece, and the similarities don't end there. Look how alike the actual movements are, with a storm interrupting a day's walk in the country. Even so, it must be said, Knecht's walk and his work is banal, dull, and not very good. I mean, just compare his storm to Beethoven's. Musically inferior as it undoubtedly is, Knecht's work does prove that Beethoven's wasn't the first attempt at a musical walk in the country, let alone one of the first pieces of programmatic music. Programmatic music means music that has been scored to describe a story. This was a genre of classical music that really took off after, if not because of, Beethoven's Pastoral Symphony. Berlioz's Symphonie Fantastique is a famous example of programmatic music, describing a macabre dream about love and death. However, programmatic music itself, again, is no new thing at Beethoven or even Knecht's time. Take, for example, Monteverdi's Fight of Tancredi and Clorida, dating all the way back to 1624. Monteverdi not only tells a story in his piece, he also uses music to make the actual sounds of things, such as the clash of armour in battle. I've also made a video about sounds of actual things in classical music, if you want to check that out. However, there is a far more famous example of programmatic music that again takes us a lot closer to Beethoven's original conception than I had ever realised, and did it over a century earlier. It's something that's staring you in the face, since I'm talking about one of the most famous pieces of classical music ever composed, no exaggeration. You know the piece, Vivaldi's Four Seasons. More uncanny resemblances to the Pastoral. This is also clearly a programmatic work where Vivaldi actually indicates in the score the events he's describing, and there are a lot of musical similarities in the way both composers convey nature. You got peasants dancing in the countryside, done by Vivaldi thus, and by Beethoven thus. And there's more. Water conveyed rhythmically by Vivaldi thus. And by Beethoven thus. Ditto a storm, here with Vivaldi. And here with Beethoven. And of of course, there's the bird song, something I always thought was so original in Beethoven's score, scored by Vivaldi, thus. And by Beethoven. And although much of Vivaldi's work was only rediscovered recently, the Four Seasons was known in Beethoven's time, so both the Knecht and the Vivaldi pieces may be fundamental to the actual conception of Beethoven's Sixth Symphony. In other words, he might have nicked some of the ideas. Which means Beethoven's wonderful Pastoral Symphony may not be as original as I had once thought, but it's still a masterpiece. I mean, in comparison with the Knecht or the Vivaldi, Beethoven's clearly improved on what may have been the original. Artists constantly borrow ideas and influences from one another. It's part of the artistic process. It's how art happens. Great art doesn't just appear from nowhere. It grows, building from different traditions and ideas. Homage, as I always say, is plagiarism that isn't actionable. The fact that Woody Allen may have said that originally is, of course, my homage to Woody Allen. So, less original it may be, but its greatness still shines brightly. Here's to the Pastoral. Please like and subscribe.